All right, and I suppose after the weekend's results with Carlton pumping West Coast, surprisingly, in my opinion, with the amount of ads they had, Collingwood's season is finally over when it comes to going back-to-back, the quest to go back-to-back this year. How will we reflect upon this year in the coming seasons? It'll be an interesting one. Obviously, the emotions are quite raw at the moment, but right now, I'll tell you how I'm feeling. I'm feeling relieved because my heart gets some well-needed respite from these close games. And I think what we need to accept with the way this game is developing, the sport in AFL, is these close games, these comebacks, they're here to stay. And more teams will be a part of these games without Collingwood having to be in them more and more frequently over the next, the foreseeable future. I see this becoming more like a NBA sort of environment where teams can't hold on to leads and games are always decided by the closest of margins. I think with the way the game is being adjudicated, the free flowing of it, the license to dare and play assertively through the corridor or whatever it may be, I think that's why, or that's how the game will look, and that's why games are coming down to 4 to 5 goal swings in the last quarter. So we've got to get used to that. We've got to ingrain that into our learnings and understand that that's what it's going to be. So if it means we get the next 4 to 5 weeks off just to sort of breathe, then fine, if it helps us in the long run. Am I concerned as to whether we'll be relevant next year? A little bit. But the last few weeks, so Carlton, Sydney, Brisbane, we go 2 out of 3 against 3 really good sides and should have beaten Sydney. We played 3 good quarters, of course. We've really turned a corner, but it was just a little bit too late, unfortunately. The Essendon, Geelong, Gold Coast, Hawthorns games killed us in the end. And I think that period, it mattered because there was a massive influx of players returning. McStay, Pendlebury, DeGoey, everyone else in between. I think the transition to adapt to those changes took too long. Players were out of form. Even in the last 3-4 weeks, we're seeing players like Darcy Moore just come out of nowhere. Like, he looked shot for all money. Like, he didn't look like he was going to come back this season as far as his form was concerned. And he had probably one of his best games of the year against Brisbane, taking contested intercept marks like it was just Darcy Moore of 2023. And our game just came back. And yes, it's not the same as last year where we're just moving the ball swiftly from end to end. We're just owning territory at the moment, and that's the new identity of the Collingwood Football Club in 2024. It's worked in times. The ball's been moved easily against us in times as well. But as of late, the last 3-4 weeks, teams have sort of chipped away in their backline, but never really were able to get that aggressive handball received to sort of change the tempo of the game. That hasn't been able to occur against Collingwood. We've obviously worked on it, and it's given us some return in results, right? McStay as well, finding form. Lockie Schultz shows that he has a bit of grunt about him and resilience. You could see that in the game. He had a bad first half against Brisbane, and then in that second half, he just comes out of nowhere and becomes prime Elliott. And Nick Dacos is still willing to carry the team on his back when needed. We played really well in these games, these Sydney-Brisbane games, without Jordan DeGoey, without Brody Myercheck. I mean, we're still yet to see what it's like with McStay as the main key tall forward and Brody Myercheck getting the second best defender. Like, that world we haven't lived in that world yet for an extended period of time. Brody Myercheck has always had to play undersized, playing on the best key defender that the opposition has for him. So I'm really excited for what that looks like next year. I'm not super concerned about our forward line. Midfield, I mean, there's talks of Petrarca, but I know, don't know if that's possible. I keep saying we still got Thomas McGuire in 2025, so maybe hang tight in the midfield. Tom Mitchell has been basically out for the entirety of the year, so he's going to come back fresh next season. So he still has an opportunity to have a role in the team and come back just revitalised. And then our defence is probably, even then, like, yes, look to the trade window, look to Tom Barras and anyone else in between, Mac Andrew if possible. That would be an incredible acquisition. But Billy Frampton, he tries. What can I say? He's a fringe player. He's a depth player. I think Kruger can occupy that back line. I'm disappointed that Kruger hasn't featured over the last 2 weeks. He's played in the VFL, and I think he's playing in the forward line. So if that's the case, who's he coming in for in lieu of someone out of our forward line? You're not taking out Lockie Schultz. You're not taking out Jamie Elliott. You're not taking out McStay. Cox and Cameron are rotating. That's working like clockwork at the moment. You've got Lipinski, who's playing okay, but it's not like for Kruger. So I want to see Kruger in the back line. Whether that's this year or next year, I'm not too sure. Isaac Quain, or like Craig McRae has rolled the dice on some positional changes late in the year where you could probably say maybe it's just a little bit too late, but it's happened and now it's set the landscape moving forward. Josh Dacos off the half back line, Isaac Quain on the wing. Still Sidebottom's best position is in the midfield on the ball, and look what he does. He's now become a tagger who can find his own footy. What he did against Errol Goulden, what he did against Lockie Neal. It's one of those cases, right? We talk about, we can't keep kicking the can further up the street. We've just got to stagger these players. I get that, and Kayla's been big on that, and I've agreed with that as well. But that was with still Sidebottom playing on the wing. That was with still Sidebottom playing on the half-back flank. But that engine room is the most important piece to the puzzle in any AFL club, in my opinion. So if we can still squeeze a bit more lemon out of that still Sidebottom juice in the midfield, he gets that extra year, and that extra year of him in the middle buys us some time to find the next string of up-and-coming players for our midfield. Because right now, what is it? We've got Jack Crisp, Pendlebury, Tom Mitchell, Nick Dacos, Josh Dacos. I'm going to keep him out of there because he's playing off the half-back line and I want him to stay there. So let me start again because my memory is horrible. Tom Mitchell, Scott Pendlebury, Nick Dacos, Jack Crisp, Ned Long, Sullivan, still Sidebottom. There's not a whole... Finlay McRae, there's not a whole lot coming out at the moment from the youth side of things. So we just need maybe another year to allow the draft to come through and see what we can get out of Ed Allen, maybe Finlay McRae, Thomas McGuire. So these players who still got they've still got opportunities to establish themselves in the midfield, particularly Ed Allen, playing very well in the VFL recently. I'd say Lockie Sullivan, it was once again, he is a depth player. Thomas McGuire will come in and he'll hopefully be the 1-2 punch with Nick Dacos. Of course, I didn't mention Geordie DeGoey, but he does what he does and he'll be a part of that engine room until he retires, but he also have that, I guess, that string to his bow where he can play forward. And then talking to Bo McCreary, what he's done since coming back in the side is, I haven't seen that all year. Like, we know his pressure, but the way his intent with the ball, the way he's using the ball, his constant pressure, I think this is the best version of Bo McCreary we've had this year, or maybe in his whole career. I'd like to see the stats over his last few games versus the rest of his career because he's looked outstanding and makes us look much faster than what we are in the stoppages, when he rolls up to that centre bounce. If the ball gets on the outside of Scott Pendlebury, Tom Mitchell, or Nick Dacos, Bo McCreary is there to apply some pressure on the opposition to ensure that the ball doesn't come out of the middle or out of the stoppage as easy as what it has done in the games against Essendon, Gold Coast, Hawthorn, Geelong. Those 4 games, nightmares. They will live as nightmares until 2025 for me, unfortunately. So, yeah, enjoy the break. We've still got another game this Friday against the D's. Let's see who wins. Look, I will say the wins that I really wanted in the last 4 to 6 weeks, we got the 2 wins over Carlton this year. We got the 2 wins over Brisbane this year. So there's a little bit of solace in that. And hey, while the AFL season may be finishing, Pies Footy YouTube channel will be fit and firing all year long. Expect video documentaries. And hey, if you want a bit of Scott Pendlebury or maybe Collingwood's top 5 one season wonders, maybe click on one of these videos and keep consuming. Go Pies.